Good morning, everyone. This is Jeff on Walk and Talk with Jeff. It's kind of a muggy morning. It's a little cloudy out. Out on my daily walk. First things first, who watched the World Cup last night? USA over Paraguay, 4-1. What a game. You know, I've watched them play 3 or 4 games now, and this was by far the very best game that I have ever seen them play, especially in the first half. The first half was what you would call flawless. Paraguay didn't have a clue how to handle United States yesterday. Not at all. They were clueless. The teamwork was amazing. The passes, the footwork, the accuracy in their shots, and their teamwork. They just gelled like a terrific team does. So anyway, I believe the next game is Friday. I would have to check. It seems like they're playing Argentina, maybe in the afternoon sometime. But definitely going to be there and definitely going to watch that. Pulling for USA all the way. Okay, today I want to talk to you a little bit about correctional officers. You know, correctional officer job is not for everybody. So with that saying right off the top, I want to say thank you to everyone out there who every day puts their boots on, laces them up, and walks behind those gates, walls, and fences to basically, and not to sound corny, but to keep America safe. See, while we're all out here and we're doing our life and everything, you don't realize what's really going on behind the walls and fences and gates of these penitentiaries and prisons. And correctional officers hold it all together. I worked 37 years, as you've heard me say before, and I can tell you just the life back there that the correctional officer experience is there's second to none. There's just I don't even know really how to describe it in one word. I guess there's no way to describe it in one word. But there's a sense of danger every minute. There's a sense of negativity every minute. You hear words that you didn't even know was in the vocabulary behind those walls and fences. You deal with some of the, you know, and not all of them. So don't get me wrong. I'm not characterizing every inmate. But you deal with the scum of the earth behind those fences and walls. You have career criminals. You got people who hate badges. And when I say hate badges, I mean they hate anyone who wears a badge. That's what a correctional officer has to deal with every day that he walks in. He knows that he's already hated. He already knows the job that he has to do. You know, people don't realize that behind those walls and fences, those inmates eat. And they eat 400 at a time in a large chow hall. Well, in most cases where I worked. And they're crowded in there and they're eating. It's loud. The noise is so unbelievably loud that you just don't understand it. You actually have to be there to experience the noise. You have constant bickering, arguing, fighting amongst them. You have inmates that are literally will steal another man's food right in front of you, and then expect them to get and look at you like you're crazy whenever you call him out on it. So, you know, that's just what correctional officers deal with on a daily basis. They go to yard. Our yards usually consisted of 200 to 300 inmates on a yard. Playing basketball and quote flag football, where it wound up always being tackle and usually a big fight. Walking a big track, all the gangbangers out there making their deals and talking to other people from other units, you know, spreading their messages and their word. So there's a lot of things that goes on back there. Yeah, everybody thinks that, you know, I talk to people say, oh, they're locked up, aren't they? No, they're not. They're locked up they're locked up for counts, so they're locked up of a night when they're all supposed to be sleeping. But really, They're out most of the time in those cell houses. And then they're let out, like I said, for chow 3 times a day. They're let out for yard a couple times a day. And they're let out for gym. They go to the gym a couple times a day to play basketball and lift weights. So they're not just locked in their cells. And that's where the correctional officer comes in. They are with those guys nonstop. I have never stood in a chow hall or in a yard or worked inside of a gym that I wasn't outnumbered at least 80 or 90 to 1. All you have with you is a radio and an ink pen. And that was your defense. Which is not a defense, by the way. That's just what you had. But there was guys that actually wasn't able to handle it. And those are the guys I want to talk about here just for a minute. I have no disrespect for anybody who couldn't handle the job. There were several of them. I had guys that used to tell me when I was a supervisor, tell me they just couldn't handle it anymore and probably wouldn't be there tomorrow. And, you know, I respect that. And I used to tell them, if you can't handle it or you don't like it, it's not worth your livelihood. It's not worth your life, I should say. It's not worth stressing out over. It's not worth having health trouble over. Get out. If you don't like the job and you can't handle the job, get out. Nobody's going to look down on you for it. I certainly did not. One guy in particular that I remember, he told me one day, he said, I just can't handle it. I was a lieutenant at the time. He said, I can't handle it, Lou. He said, I'm going to have to do something else. He said, but I can't come to work anymore. I said, well, you know, you need to just put in and just resign then. And I said, I don't want you to be, you know, I don't want you to be afraid or anything like that. He said, I just can't handle it. He said, as soon as I walk in, my blood pressure skyrockets. I get anxiety. He said, the other day I called in to work from the payphone out in the lobby. I said, the payphone in the lobby, huh? He said, yeah. He said, I walked in. He said, I got real dizzy. He said, the anxiety took me over. He said, I can't handle it. He said, I was going to try to find a job first. He said, I don't think I'm going to be able to even do that. So I told him, I said, you need to not come back. Just, you know, resign tonight. Go home right now and find you something else. And that's basically what he did. He went up that night to the captain, put in his resignation, and the captain said, okay, says, when you leaving? He said, right now. And the captain said, well, he said, I really don't have anybody to replace you. He said, well, the lieutenant told me that I needed to leave right now because my blood pressure is extremely high and my anxiety is just through the roof. So he left. So when people see other people leave, it's like, wow, guy really couldn't handle it. And it's not the fact that you can't handle it. It's the fact that it's something that you've never experienced before until you've stepped behind those fences and walls. The feelings that you get on the yards and the gyms and places like that. Now, 99% of the time, they're not looking to do any correctional officers any harm. Most of the time, they're just out to recreate and see their buddies and, you know, get things planned out for their next caper. That's what they're doing. And, you know, I always found that it's how you treat them, it's how you're treated back. In most cases. Like I said, some hate you because you wear a badge. Some automatically despise you because you're in charge of them. But anyway, I just want to give a shout out to all people who work in corrections. And that includes people who work in county jails. You know, it really makes me mad when I hear somebody call them a jailer. They're not jailers. They're correctional officers. They went through the same training that a correctional officer from a Department of Corrections place goes through. And they're correctional officers. Matter of fact, they work harder in the county jails than they do in prisons. I know that for a fact because I was a correctional officer in a county jail for nearly 12 years. So I know what they do compared to what we did in the Department of Corrections. So anyway, I wanted to kind of just drop that a little bit today to tell you about correctional officers. They should be admired. If you know one, thank them, because they go through a life that you just are you're unaware of. You just don't realize what all they go through. But anyway, I hope you all have a great day. Cheer on the USA soccer team. I really would love to take that first place World Cup this year. And if they play like they did this last game yesterday, they will be your winners. I'm out.